It's like almost 1 a.m. I just thought I'd just jump on real quick and talk about a camera that caught my eye for 26. And most people are going to see this are going to probably be in like, I don't know, where would you be to be able to watch this? But I just got done doing some marketing and I thought, well, I can jump in, do a video versus watching a video and talk about a camera that has got me excited for productions in 2026. This will be the Pyxis Blackmagic Pyxis camera, but the 12K version, not the 6K version, which overall is still a great camera. I just happen to like the 12K because it gives me the full frame in 12K, 8K, 4K without shrinking the size of the image, and then go to a 9K and a shrinked image size of a Super 35, which is pretty awesome. You can get it in an L mount, which will allow you to use autofocus lenses, and you can also going to get it in a PL mount and what was it, the Canon mount. This is actually a really nice looking camera. There's two of these here, so this is a 6K version and there's a 12K version. I know a lot of people are going to jump to the 6K because it saves them like 2 or 3 grand. I get it. Do it if that's what makes you happy. Just remember, you're always going to be shooting in 6K to get the full sensor. Whereas with the 12K, I can shoot in 12K, 8K, or 4K and get the full frame sensor, which means I can actually have a smaller file, which is awesome. And it's one of the things I can get a real 4K file versus a 6K file. Now, as for that new world of open gate and everything else, this has got it. So it's already got open gate. It's gonna have pretty much all the major features you'd be looking for. Hey, thanks for jumping in. Let's see who's online right now. Hey, Nikki, I forget where you live, Nikki, because it is like 1 a.m. here in Seattle. Yes, I'm doing great, by the way. So, hey, what's up? Nikki's always supporting. I'm doing great. I just got done doing a ton of marketing. And yes, the Pyxis. This is the camera I'm looking at getting like 3 of them within the next 6 months. All cash too. So it's going to be a hell of a purchase when I do it. But yeah, I'm talking about these and some of the advantages of going with one or the other of the two. The 6K is going to have some advantages for cost, but you're going to give up a couple cool new features that are only available on the 12K. Um, Number one, and yes, the Pyxis. Damn. Yeah, it is kind of. It is one of those things. Yes. No. No, not with the view. No, not with the viewfinder. I don't think we're going to shoulder mount these. I think we're just going to do them camera mounts and gimbals and things like that. Generally, we use the USB-C monitors is what I'd be using with this, and it would most likely be rear mounted, not front mounted. Which the 12K can let you do that. The 6K won't. Yep, the gimbal mounts and just your basic mounting on it. The idea is we can put it on dollies and everything else and actually do real movies with it. Um, don't get me wrong, the Sonys and the other brands with their all eye are actually pretty good. It's just I want to have one setup specifically for higher end commercial work. We're going to be doing a lot more of the broadcast stuff, and just having the 12K Pyxis is worth having. The couple advantages you're going to get with it is you don't have the sensor crop in when you switch from 6K to 4K like the 6K does. If you go 4K, 8K, or 12K, it's all the same size readout. There is a 9K for Super 35. There's also there is a what is it called, open gate on this too, which is really nice, and it's an all intro file. Will I shoot in 12K? It depends on the client. And it depends what we're trying to do. So if we're in an environment where I may be doing a lot of recomposing and putting in a 1080p, and we need to get 4 or 5 different angles from the same shot, yeah, I will. So what you can do is you can put a wide angle lens on it, shoot the video, with 2 or 3 different angles. So one hitting like a third of the room, one hitting the other third of the room, one hitting the other third of the room from different angles. And then later, when you're in post production, you can zoom in at 1080p and have a really crisp image. There's a couple different softwares that do that already with 8K and 6K and just zoom in. It's a very cool way to expand the angles you have and close ups you have available in post production. So, yeah, I'll shoot in 12K. It just kind of depends. I'm used to the size files anyway. I mean, 2 terabytes an hour does not scare me. It's just not unusual. I've been shooting in ProRes and ProRes RAW and ProRes HQ for a very, very long time. So that size file is nothing. Really, when I'm shooting for some of my clients at 4K at 200 megabits per second, I'm just like, I'm not using any data. That's like a 7 hour shoot on 400 gigs. Poor storage, I guess. I mean, that's normal for those type of cameras. I mean, if you get a Red, if you get an Airy, if you get anything that's producing those images at that level, uh, that's just the commonality of it. They're going to be that size files. You're really looking at like 200 megabytes per second, or it's absolutely insane. Like 1600 megabits per second minimum size files, and they can get as much as 300 megabytes and 400 megabytes per second for red raw files and things. So you just get used to it, and you get used to that there. The advantage of using these though is you can go to Costco and get the hold on. Where I have a whole bunch of these. So you can go to Costco. You can go to Costco and you can get these 2 terabyte external drives like these, and that's the drive you use for recording. Make sure you get the 1 terabyte per second constant speed one, and it will record directly from there, and that works. Hey, Florin. Hi, Florin. How are you doing? Hope you're having a good night. Yeah, kind of beastly. It does the job and everything. I will be upgrading the PC, so this one handles all my 4K and 6K work. It's got what is it? 32 gigs of RAM, uh, a video card in it. All right, say hi there. i9 and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it does the job. It's not a Mac. I still do PC because of a lot of the software I work with. The upgrade I'd have to do to that is go to a computer with a 64 gigs of RAM and about a 12 gigabyte video card, and it's like a 200-watt card, but it does the job. It's pretty cool. So speaking of the Pyxis too, the reason why I'm looking at these is not only just for the memory and that the video codecs, it's for what you can do wrapping around it. There's a lot of events where we're going to have what you call big lenses, and we're going to be shooting something like concerts and things like that. It allows you to connect the longer lenses and even the box lenses to it and work within the SDI network. If you've been at the concerts and things like that have the iMac screens, you'll get a much better iMac screen look, which is part of the reason why we get these. It gets us a few more contract options, not just normal commercial stuff, but it also gets us like the concerts and things like that. And one of the teams I work with has a tremendous amount of the audio that we need. Another team I work with has the LED screens, and me having these would basically make us able to go into almost any place and hammer out a nice concert, do a cast pay-per-view, and do ticketing that's there. So just having the extra tools is going to be nice. There are some mounting options on this that are pretty cool. So if you were looking at one of these, Nikki, I don't know if you are or not, if you would dream to have one, there is a PL mount, there is an EF mount, and then there's the L mount Alliance mount. And I'm going to go with the L mount because it's going to give you autofocus options. There's a ton of good Sigma lenses that I like for just commercial work that we can just pump out real quick. And then there is a ton of new lenses that have the L mount in the cinema lenses. I like also the mounting options here. If you look at this, that video is sick. So the EVF is awesome, but I'm not going to be using that. But the handle up here, the rods, that plate. Come on, let me make that animation go again. Come on, go again, go again. All these mounting points. That's what it's all about. This is the versatility of this camera. Like, I'm going to be able to do a tremendous amount of work, have my teammates in a really good position to where they can be successful, and that's really the most important thing. And if you look on the side screen here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is 4 channels of audio on here now, and that is completely important for what I would do. I like having 4 channel audio, so there's audio that would come off the camera. There'll be audio to go through the XLR, and then there's also a 1/8 pin on there, and then I also like to use like lavaliers or anything else for additional audio options. And having 4 channels of audio is superb. Oh, hell yes. He's been saying the L Mount Alliance, Lions, or whatever it is for years. And at first, I thought the L Mount was going to be a joke. Still did think it was a joke when Panasonic had it. The moment I started caring is when Black Magic got it, and I knew the writing was on the wall. They're going to go to autofocus, and they're going to go to a good autofocus because they had a great sensor in there in the first place. So, yes, Jared says L Mount Alliance. So yeah, this is one of those cameras where you're just going to have a lot of versatility. This is a similar setup that I would probably do too. Looks like they've got a remote focus with it, but yeah, this is essentially the type of setup, except for this dolly is not a dolly I would use. I don't know why. It's just not my favorite dolly. And the Connor is just kind of an overkill for a lot of the sets. And, when your Connor costs way more than that camera, which is insane in itself. Uh, yes, Jared is cool. Jared is absolutely cool. Let's see how this looks with the large format. This is kind of what draws me to it. Oh, that image is just sick. That is just sick with it. Now, if you watch those waves, you don't see any stutter because it's not because it's a fast readout sensor only. It's the all intra. That all intra makes all the difference. And it's with that Black Magic Raw, it's sick. So this is a large format sensor, which is pretty awesome to get your hands on. Uh, Here's ratios too. If you're interested in seeing what this is going to look like ratio wise, let me show you. That's open gate. That's your 16 by 9. That's a 17 by 9. I like to shoot a lot of mine in that 235. Yes, it is perfection in a box. I like to shoot a lot of mine at 245, 235, which is a little bit wider than that. 16 by 9 is cool. 17 by 9 is great for like any of the phone production stuff I'm going to do that's going to go on YouTube because it just works perfect. Open gate, on the other hand, I'm not the biggest fan of, and it's not because it's a bad format. It's because a lot of people don't know how to use the markers on it to get what you want. So when you go to notice we go to 16 by 9, our head gets kind of cut off. If you slide that up a little bit, you're going to lose the scarf. If you're going to do that, so if you're trying to frame this video for dual shooting, it's almost better to be in 16 by 9 with an 8K video because of the tremendous amount of resolution you're going to have. You can do a 4K off of that as vertical, which is insane. So that's kind of the reason why Open Gate's not as intriguing to me with the 12K version and the 8K version, but I'll still use it depending on what the client desires in the end. Now here are all the mounts. If you're interested in like seeing what they look like, so this is a PL mount, which is basically if you're been in cinema a long time, this is going to be your classic mount, and it's a locking mount that works really really well. The lens selection on this is just absolutely awesome. You will not fail with this, but no autofocus. You're going to have to add all the tools into it. The EF locking one is nice because it locks the EF lens in place, but it doesn't have a really good really great autofocus. I don't think they can put phase detection on there at all. They're just going to do the manual focus on it. Oh, you like 185? Okay, cool. I like that. I like that. Everybody's got their flavor of what they like. I really appreciate you expressing that, Nikki. But if you go to the L mount, this is where you're going to open up a ton of lenses. There is a tremendous amount of Sigma lenses that are just cream of the crop, that are very, very close to Zeiss lenses, and that's the reason why I really like the Sigma lenses. The dynamic range, well, dynamic range is going to be how well you shot things and how well you set up everything too. The ability to grasp more dynamic range is there, but also being able to set your shots up right. So that's one advantage. I do like this though. The low light is not just good, the grain off the sensor is really good. When I say the grain off this sensor is really good, I wish this is one of the few times I've done one of these streams where I wish I might have done this in a horizontal because you could see it better. But that grain is the same everywhere. It's like looking at film. If you can only get that with all intra, you can only get that with a good raw or good sensor readout. ISO noise isn't bad if you have uniform noise. It gives a good film look, in my opinion. There is going to be some disadvantages going to the 12K because technically it's supposedly doesn't have a second circuit for it, second base ISO. But I looked at the ISO chart. You just have to light a little different. You have to understand how you're shooting that shot. But overall, it's got really nice looking noise when you're looking at it. And if you watch any movies lately, you'll see that there's a lot of noise on these airy shot videos, and it looks a lot like this, where it's a clean grain. It's almost like you have like the old grain effect you would put onto a movie, and that's what you look for in your noise. And I like that part. Now here's where things get kind of goofy. If you are shooting in 4K and 8K, you actually have better noise control than if you're shooting in the 12K. So if you look at this, anything below stops here, that's going to give you better noise control as you get in the higher ISOs. The Pyxis 6K has a whole lot less dynamic range on that too. So you're going to really see where if you're looking at low light, you want to go with the Pyxis, and you don't want to go with a 6K. We've also got 24 frames per second, which is nice, and it's a true 24. Why you gotta ask that question? Wrong stream, bro. All right, Nikki. I think it's a great camera. I think that Fuji's put a good film camera out, video camera out there. Would I buy it over a Pyxis 12K? Hell no. And there's reasons for that, and mainly is I know. Yeah, I know it's funny you asked the question here. I know from being out in production that me being able to rent it or get it out there at a concert or something like that, that's just not going to happen. They're not going to give me the contract for it. Whereas if I've got one of the Pyxis 12Ks, I will have the contract, which is awesome. Now let's get over here when you're talking about these multiple resolutions and full frame. We can go from 24 FPS to 112 FPS in 8K, which this is super nice in 8K. And that allows me to do a lot of punching in and a lot of changing. And if you notice, it doesn't have a lot of jittery to it, and that's because it's a true readout of the sensor. On the open gate, going with the 12K is going to give you a ton more options on frame rates. So open gate's only 36 frames per second in 6K. On the 12K, it's 40. But here's where it gets awesome. You can get up to 3 times slowdown if you're doing 24 frame cinematic look in 8K and 4K, which is going to be 72 frames per second. Or you can get was it 2 and some if you're doing 30 frames per second, which I do a lot of those there. The tools on this are actually pretty easy to use. The peaking tools, the rest of that, if you've used a Blackmagic, you know that these are easy tools to use. I like them. Their waveforms, all the rest of that is pretty easy to work with. That side screen is going to be pretty color accurate. Having the ability to touch the camera on the side and control it is so nice. if you've been on a lot of sets, I'm generally doing interviews and things, and I'll have someone over here, and I have the cameras pointed at them. Being able to touch on the side and really just make adjustments or see what I'm doing by looking over and then get back to the interview questions. So nice. Uh, you have no idea until you've had it. The locking mechanism on it too keeps you safe, so you're not going to have any issues there. So that is pretty awesome. Let's talk about this monitor. Nikki, if you're still there, this is the monitor you need to buy. And with the 12K, you can mount that monitor to the front or the back and use a back USB C with it, which is super nice. There's other tools you can add on, but that part alone is just fantastic, being able to move it back and forth. All the functionality is right there on that monitor and on the side. So you can have an AC or an assistant working some of the stuff, some of the magic for you. And you can literally be like 10 feet away with a USB-C cable using that monitor and doing other controls too. So it's phenomenal. Yes, it is nice. It is absolutely nice. As you can see, you got side mount, bottom mount, top mount. So this is a really good way to go. Here we go. Tools you need as a videographer. False color is probably the biggest thing that's going to save you on set, second to waveform. Having the false color match up with brightness and get the right skin tones at exactly the same time will allow you to get everything to come out right. And having the waveforms in that combined is just easy. And having them out of touch on the side of the screen, having waveforms up there, and then composing at the top. What I actually like to do is I have two monitors on me. So I have one that I do my composing on, and one that just checks like false color, focus, and things like that. And being able to basically look up and down between the two. So the side monitor would have all these up, and then the top monitor be the one I compose with, and I'd have it turned sideways or whichever direction I'm going, which is one of the ways I like to work. Also, with the 12K, this is a bracket that comes with it in 6K. Oh, this is so nice. So you get a breadboard bracket that allows you to get any accessory mounted on it. So notice you don't have to have a cage to make this thing work. I do prefer having cages for certain types of video shoots, but you don't have to have it with this. It's built well. It's already a heavy unit and it's really nice. Also, if you buy the monitor or any of the accessories like the the focus control and the zoom in and out rockers and a few other ones, they have these locking in USB C ports right here. This is a super nice feature. I've gotten so used to that, the Black Magic. Yes. Yes. You're damn right, coffee holder. I'm tired of my coffees getting messed with on set. Don't touch my damn coffee. I'm known for, drinking 4 to 8 cups of coffee in a day on a set. But yes, that is definitely the thing. So side mounting is a nice thing. The viewfinder. Someone asked me about this before. There's 2 viewfinders available for it. Hi, how you doing? Let me pull you up here real quick. Hi, how you doing? I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name, so forgive me, but I brought you up. Hi, nice for you to jump in. There's 2 viewfinders, and this one gives you like a camcorder-ish look viewfinder. I don't like this for the 12K. Now, I started with those type of viewfinders, so don't get me wrong, but I just don't like it for the 12K. When I'm buying that, I'm going to be doing a different setup. Though I do like this dual setup here with the controls, with the dual USB-C control functions. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming in here, by the way. I do like that function. So there are some pluses. I mean, I could see where there's a few shoots where I would buy this, but it's not going to be my mainstay. But like I said, the abundance of accessories and abundance of the fast-paced broadcasting stuff is really cool, being able to do that. I do like the rocker up here and all these other controls, so I like that a lot. The other piece that makes this a camera that I want to be with, and it's an industry standard, is it works with all of these tools. When you've been on enough sets, these tools become your life. And when I say they become your life, they become your life. So sometimes you're doing the color tools right there, and yes, they will have a colorist on set. It's weird that this is possible now when it used to not be possible. Generally, it's done for live events, but I mean, we also do record those live events, so it's kind of cool. But I like that feature there. CF Express Type B's, just a good memory card. I still like to use an external memory, like it shows right on the side here, but the CF Express Type B's are a good way to go. Hi, everybody that's joined in. Let's see where everybody's coming in from. I'm multicasting right now, so I'm casting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, the APC broadcasting channel, and I'm also doing it on the video and audio channel. This looks like there's 29 of you on right now. I love how Blackmagic gives you versatility on memory. And I'm telling you right now, if you've never had this versatility, you've never been on a set where you can just hand over the data right there and right then, you don't know how easy this is. Having one of these SSDs like this mounted on the side with a USB-C cable in, and then when they're done with the day, you have the client sign off in an email, or I have Square Up, so I can send them a sign off that they've received it, received receipt, and take a photo and add it to the received receipt. That's the end of the day. 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte, hand it over. Their creative team gets right to work, and they're super happy. This is one of the key things I really love. Now, you also have the CF Express Type B cards. You can still use those. I like those a lot too. And those are great for 12K exposure. I would not be buying some little tiny 650 gigabyte card. Notice I said tiny. Though I would only have 4 terabytes in there. 4 terabytes on the top, 4 terabytes on the bottom. Because at that point there, I don't want to be switching memory cards all day long. And my external drives are going to be 2s and 4s. It makes no sense to have anything less than that when you're shooting 12K and 8K. One of the questions I got when I was talking with our team is, will I be shooting in 4K with this? The answer is, if we're doing a small event. If we're doing a small event, I'm going to shoot in 4K. And you should too. It's a great way to go. Let me pop that comment off there. It's been up there for a while. If anyone's got any comments or questions, just feel free to ask. Now, the pre-record I haven't used yet, so I don't know if it's good or not. But I know the pre-record could save you in certain events and certain situations. So if you're doing an event or if you're shooting like this is, use the pre-record. 10 seconds though, that's just sick. That is what? I can pre-record up to 10 minutes? Oh, that is just absolutely insane. I didn't even know that. I knew everything else I was working with it. The Blackmagic Raw clips. I'm gonna download these clips and see what they look like, and then I'm gonna edit them. I do like using the raw controls. Now, here's a weird thing. I'm a Sony shooter in most cases. You see all these extra raw controls they're showing here with ISO and type in and all that. If you transcode your Sony FX series footage over to main concept through Catalyst Browse, this has nothing to do with this particular episode we're talking about here, but it lets you do all those features, which is super nice, having all your saturation exposure controls. Now, this is where I love the Blackmagic menus, and I love how they work in the this is that OS system. Oh man, this is so easy to work with. You can just put in your times, your titles, where you're at. You can upload to the cloud. Depending on how you do it, you can even stream from this, which is really sick. I overall just love the way that they've been doing the Blackmagics. Fit generation color. I think color is just subjective. Anyone got comments on color? Nikki, you got comments on color? Kaya, I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. Anyone else got comments on color? Because I I don't care which color you use. I'm gonna sit back and I might build my own LUT and make the color the way I want. And the color science is, I've worked with so many different cameras. I'm not sure which one's the best. No, I'm not on a highway. How come you asked that question? Oh, this. I'm sorry. I took this long exposure photo. What was it? 4 or 5 years ago, out in Seattle. It was pretty pitch black at the time, and yeah, that's actually at Yesler in Seattle. So if you've ever been to Yesler and in Seattle, that's where it's at. No comments. I got you. Okay, I've had a few comments. You suspected? Yeah. I was just out there one night and I was just chilling. I just wanted to shoot a nice little photo. And this has actually become like the logo of my business when I was just doing photography. COVID happened. I got knocked out of photography. I'd already been trained in broadcast and video productions. And this, I wanted to save that for fun stuff for me. And photography was paying the bills. But COVID happened and event photography died. Thank you so much. It's one of my favorite photos I've ever shot, and it's just it reminds me of a moment and where everyone's having a good time, just driving is beautiful. It just feels like a cool photo. Dwight, where are you from, by the way? I see the 404. Where are you actually from? Are you from the 404? So yeah, let's get back on this. We got the B raw. I don't know if anyone's shot B raw before. Get used to it. It's really cool, and don't use a highly compressed version of it because you're missing out on some of the color. But it's completely up to you. I mean, memory is memory. Sync to the cloud, editor stuff, internal storage, this all the regular stuff. Ah, see, this is the cool part. So this one gives you that 4G and 5G capability of using phone data for transferring like videos and stuff. So it's actually kind of like when I said the Pyxis is really just an amazing camera. This is the reason why it's really set up for success. The viewfinder from Ursa, you've mentioned Nikki, but that was you who asked about the viewfinder earlier. I mean, having the presets and the controls on is kind of cool, but it's not my flavor to use those. It may become my flavor if I'm in a specific situation, but I'm not really sure if I would ever really like jump into doing that or not with that viewfinder. Let's talk about some of the mounting pieces on here. This is one of the reasons why I really love this camera. This is the viewfinder piece right here that's in the front, but it can also be used for other functions too. So it's not just for the viewfinder. You can use it for the control arms and everything else. You have also got an XLR input. Generally, you only need one XLR input, and it's a micro, so you do need the adapter cable, but it works really good. Of course, whatever mount adapter you want up front. Then let's get over to what about using it outside? So far, all of my external monitors have been pretty easy to use. I'm in the Seattle area right now. It does get sunny, but it doesn't get crazy sunny. And Yakima Valley is not that bad either. And maybe I'm just used to using external monitors with 1,000 nit to 2,000 nits, and it's not been an issue. This is the external monitor. This is 1,500 nits, so it shouldn't be an issue. But I will know more when we shoot some more on Pure 62. That's my best answer. Great question, though. It's also a personal preference. If you want to put that viewfinder on there, get it. It's going to be one of those things where if you love viewfinders, use the viewfinders. Yep, appreciate that. It is. I mean, each one's going to have your own flavor. You're all going to have your own flavor when it comes to this. Um, the microphone input is really kind of one of the things we would use for like external lavaliers. That's really what, and there's two channels to that, so it's a nice way of having that extra bit. Headphone jack on it, two CF Express B card slots. Now, what I don't like about these card slots is that they are those ones that have like a rubbery piece that you pop in and out, and eventually they're just going to break off, and you're just going to have them exposed anyway. So uh, I know that after about 300 or 400 shoots, that might happen. 300 or 400 times taking them out, that might happen with the memory cards. You've also got the output right here for USB expansion, mobile data, external recording, and control functions. And in the 12K, you can put the external monitor back there, which is super nice. The SDI in and out, and then you also got a communication piece. That's going to be, if you are in the ecosystem for Blackmagic, you can do a lot of control function from your switcher. It's super nice actually being able to sit back and you're on your HD 8 switcher or your 4K version of that, or on your uh, Constellation. Sorry, I'm getting tired. And be able to control this. It's an amazing piece to it. You see that Ethernet adapter? That's the big boy. For those of you who are really, really looking to up your game in like podcasting or broadcasting or whatever you want to call it, that piece right there is doing it for you. It's called the P2110 protocol, and that allows you to use Ethernet cables to both power the camera, and I believe it's powered on this one, and sending data back and forth and controls back and forth. And you could run it through a data network system, and it gives you an amazing amount of camera flexibility. And really, if you're moving stuff around and you're in a location where you need to run a lot of cable in a lot of locations, having an Ethernet is probably the best part about this. It's P2110, which is nice. All the audio stuff is just that. We just talked over it a little bit. You're going to be able to put a nice shotgun microphone or anything else on there you like. You got professional inputs, which are pretty cool. This, I don't know if it's a professional input, but it's a common input. That's a professional one with the phantom power, and then the headphone jacks. Of course, you've got the filmatic looks, how to work with the computer, with the external, and see, here's the Ethernet controls I was talking about. You you got tons of space in there. How much size card are they saying that is? Per terabyte. Okay. Let's get into some numbers here just so everybody is clear what you're running into. And I just want to be fair with everybody. If you're buying this camera, buy memory. You will be eating through memory like you would not believe. When I say eating through memory, you will be devouring it. For OpenGate here, for all the Lumix lovers out there, you're gonna be like, what? Because they got their OpenGate too, and also the Canon lovers too. 6K 3.2 OpenGate and a terabyte at 3.1 compression, you're at 56 minutes, and all the way down to 12:1 ratio, you're at 223 minutes. That's on 1 terabyte, by the way. So I don't go below 5:1. I generally like to be at 3:1. Yes, I'd rather have more data to do post production with, which is super important to me. 6K footage in general is going to be 90 minutes. Now we're going to 12K. Okay, y'all just going to cry on this. There's only you don't get a 5:1 compression ratio. So you get 3:1, 8:1, and 12:1 ratios. Open gate, 24 frames per second, 12K. A terabyte. Do you hear me? A terabyte. 14 minutes. 14 minutes. You got to go all the way to 12:1 compression to get an hour. 56 minutes. If you're doing 12K 2.41 at 24 frames, you're at 22 minutes. You get as much as 90 minutes. And of course, if you're at 17.9, 24 frames, which is one of the ways I like to do things. I'm sorry, man. This is the technical stuff that people want to know about. And yeah, this is, I told you, 8 terabytes. I told you I was going to have 8 terabytes in that bad boy for a reason. I'm going to buy those cards. I ain't playing, man. If you put those 560 gig cards in here, you'd be looking like 7 minutes at OpenGate. 12K. I'm telling you. Oh, sorry about that, Nikki. I just got to go through all the data stuff. RTMPs and SRT built in. This is really cool for those who want to do broadcast stuff. SRT is a more secure wireless streaming system. RTMP is what YouTube and a bunch of other things use. There's an RTMPS, which is a secure version of it. But SRT is what's going to get you those jobs working for ESPN, Fox News, sports, NFL. Just any of the obligorous, big boy channels. Thank you for the grace. Thank you for the grace. And you can transmit that over your cell phone and use your cell phone data. Luckily, I have a huge cell phone data package. You can also use StreamBridge with this too, which is pretty tight. And then you've also got controls with the device control box here, and that just syncs up the cameras, which is really nice. I told you I like the apps on this. It's easy to work with. Um, there's also this app here, wireless Bluetooth control for the camera. It's an iPad app, if I remember correctly. You can't use it with an Android, but it is a really nice app. Basically, it just simplifies your life. I've been using the Sony version of it for my Sony cameras, but yeah, it's super nice. Um, I adapt these batteries to a V mount for more life, but if you want to stick with the BPs, you can. There is a cage you can get with this. When you're adapting the 12K, it will not put any stress on the battery plate in the back, and you can use some V mount batteries. I'm going to recommend the 150 batteries and the 200s and the 299s. Oh man, you're just going to need a battery. It eats batteries. There's no question about it. Look, the Venture Resolve Studio is pretty nice, especially if you're using like the Fusion. It comes with Fusion Studio too, by the way. If you get the DaVinci Resolve Studio, you get that too. So let's look at all the models I got on here because there's going to be people going to ask about your models. Yes, V-mount is the way. I love V-mount. It's so much easier to work with, and it works universally across everything. Um, a lot of people are going to be looking at these 12Ks. They're all the same price, $5,500. And I'm going to recommend the L mount for most people. But if you've got a lot of PL mount lenses, go here. If you're coming from old school Canon, go here if you've already got them. Especially because if you're not going to use a ton of autofocus, this is just going to be great going with either one of these. And they're locking. Only thing I don't like about the L mount is not locking, but I can live with that. If you don't mind scaling down all the footage, then yeah, you can go to the 6K. Just know that everything outside of 6K is Super 35 or Super 16. And if you've not shot in any one of those, you're going to get an eye-opening experience because you're not going to have like if you have a 10 millimeter lens, it's going to turn into a 16 millimeter lens or turn into almost a 24 millimeter lens, depending on which of those you choose. Dear Lord, they just love having accessories. So this is $1,000 with the OLED. You're looking at the power grip control, which is probably one of the things I'm going to get. It's only $135. The rosette plate's not bad price. Always buy the monitor with the mounting kit. It's just worth it. It comes with all the accessories you're going to need because it's not. If you buy just a monitor, it doesn't come with the USB-C cable. And so many people have bought the $300 monitor that I know of my friends for the Pyxis 6K, and we're like, there's no cable. I'm like, well, they showed no cable. And it's I know it costs a little bit more to get the mounting piece, but it's worth it. By far, it's worth it. I don't see the EV mounting kit as being something I'm going to get, but I might. This EV is stupidly expensive, and it was really made for the Ursa. And you're looking at like $1,800, $1,900. So it's up to you if you want to buy it. That's pretty much all the stuff I got on this here. I don't think there's anything else I have on this page. If anyone wants to look at tech specs with me, you can stick on the stream because let's look at the gallery. Actually, let's look at the gallery. Let's see what they got here. These are just all images. You can actually go there and download the original file, but they tell you the size. So these are like 5 GB. They tell you how it was actually shot, what mount it was done with. This is actually pretty cool. One of the things that sets Blackmagic apart from everybody else is they're willing to show you what it is to shoot on their cameras. So Like they'll tell you exactly what they shot with, the lens they shot with, the VND. They'll tell you the speed they did it, and then you can just download that. And there's also a graded file too, so you can really get an idea of what these files work for you, and you can see if it works in your workflow. I wish Canon, Sony, Red, and the rest gave us all these files because it really makes choosing a camera so much easier than having to rent one all the time. When this gives you so many different environments you can try out, which is super nice. It's one of my favorite things about working with Blackmagic. I think they really are going to be one of the industry standard cameras very, very soon. Let's talk some tech specs here. For those who want to know, we're going to know. Essentially, if you're doing 12K, you got a 40 frames per second. 16 by 9 is 45. 17 by 9 is going to be 50. You can get a 60 frames per second. You see that, Nikki? 241. You'll be fine. You can get your 60 frames per second. uh, Here's one cool weird thing. You can do Super 35 and get higher frame rates if you want it at 9K, and you're going to look good. And then, of course, if you're doing 4K 16 by 9, you're going to have all the flavor you want in there. Yeah, I told you. Um, the only thing I don't like about this camera, it just says native ISO 800. I know there's supposed to be a second ISO. They just don't talk about it. They don't say it is, but there is one right around 4,000 ISO. 3,200 ISO or 2,400 ISO that gets better. Since it's done by gain, it really doesn't matter on the ISO anyway. Autofocus is available, but they will be adding in some new autofocus, which is going to be phase detection. And then, of course, you got your shooting resolutions, the nits, and all the rest of that fun stuff. The SDI on this thing is pretty dope, by the way. It goes up to 4K 60 on the SDI, which I like, which is sick. Of course, USB-C and power with it. You got sync and burst inputs. You've got the USB external. You've got the 10 gigabit. Um, that's going to be your P2110 system. You're going to need that for the 12K anyway. All these different ports. We went over that earlier. These are going to be your outputs, which is good to know. There's one built-in speaker, and then of course your rates. You can do everything. There is a proxy you can do on this. I don't know why you'd ever do a proxy, but if you need 264 proxy, 1080p, you can do it. But it's an 8-bit 420, so it'd be like going back to Sony in 2020 type thing before they put the 10-bit out there. So, and before they did the 8-bit 422, so that's gonna suck big time. Now let's talk about data. And then this is going to be like the tech specky stuff, but they tell you exactly how much data it takes to use everything, how to put the LUTs on, and all the other stuff on here. They're just a hugely more compatible company and tell you everything you need to know. I think we're gonna kind of call it. Let's see if there's showing more of the accessories here. They do. I think we're gonna call it a night here. It's like 1:30, and I'm just tired. I'm gonna watch a football game. Seahawks won. Go Hawks, which was a good one for us. We don't have Russell Wilson here anymore, but I like the Go Hawks statement, so that's pretty cool. Nikki, as usual, thank you for being on here for comments. For all those others who commented with us, thank you for commenting. For the 4 of you that are on right now viewing, thank you for viewing. I wish all of you a good night. If it's a good night where you're at, I wish you a good day. If it's daytime where you're at, and I appreciate you viewing and watching everything. Yes, Nikki, I do work. I already did a stream earlier today for a client. I just have to have a lot of time on my hands in between. Take care. And I also practice on this all the time. We're in January, so it's our slowest month. Wait, when February, March, April, May, June comes through, it's going to be crazy. Bye-bye. Good night. Take care, everybody. I appreciate everybody who's on the stream. Nikki, as usual, you are awesome. You always are throwing comments out there and getting people talking. Peace. Bye-bye now.